and welcome back to Tutor Time with Mallory. Today I have the honor of interviewing President Hunnicutt. How are you today, sir?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How did you know that you wanted to work in the education system?
I really didn't. So years and years and years ago, back in the 1980s, which seems like forever ago, I was going to stay on the ranch I was on and in Texas and just work that way forever. I made $400 a month. And if I got married, it got raised to $600 a month. So I thought I was living in high cotton. And I had an illness come about. And because of that, my grandmother and I had a paternal grandmother who was a great role model for me. And we were sitting talking when I was recovering from an illness. And she said the words that are the reason I'm here today. And it's what's missing in a lot of today's young people is that mentor, that one person that just says something that changes your path. And she said to me, we were talking about what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I'm like, I'm here, I'm happy, I'm good, I'm on a horse every day. It's great, I love it. And she said, there's more to you than this. And I'm like, what? I'm 19 years old. She said, there's more to you than this. I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, you need to go to college. I'm like, I don't want to go to college. But she kind of drugged me kicking and screaming to college. And once I got the bug of college, it just stuck. So I really didn't know I wanted to do this until I got exposed to it. And I just let myself take lots of different classes and kind of figure out what I wanted to do. And it just kind of led me down a path that led me to Nash Community College.
What was it like receiving your Bachelor in Science degree in Animal Science at Tarleton State University?
It was awesome. I was the first one in my family to complete a degree. So it was incredible. And I'm a little different president than most. Most have done educational degrees throughout their career. I was an ag major, agriculture major, animal science major, and continued to be all the way through my doctor of philosophy, my PhD. And so I took a little different path before I got to administration, but it was awesome walking across a stage and receiving a bachelor's degree when no one else in my family had ever done it. So it was pretty awesome.
What was it like receiving your Master of Science degree in General Agriculture?
That was incredible. My dad used to say, God rest his soul, he used to say I have more degrees than a thermometer because I have a lot of degrees, but I got that teaching bug later on. And so I had to keep doing things to get in the teaching area. But the master's degree at New Mexico State was incredible. I mean, that was the one from Tarleton still. It was just another kind of feather in my cap, and it kept building confidence that this is what I needed to be doing. So it was great.
What was it like receiving your Master of Science degree in Animal Science from New Mexico State University?
It was awesome. I had a really good advisor there that was really tough on me. And it really taught me, number one, a lot of filter that I used to just say, and I still do to some extent, anything I wanted to say, I would just say it. He kind of taught me that you need to be a little more careful about what you say and when you say it. So I learned a terrific amount. And then again, getting another degree, finishing up something that I started out to attempt to do was great. It was awesome.
What was it like receiving your Master of Science in Productive Biology from University of Wyoming?
It was great. Wyoming was a great experience for me. I was from a really, really hot part of Texas. And then I went to New Mexico State, which is even hotter. And then I went to the University of Wyoming. It's the highest elevation university in the nation. And so it snowed every month of the year. It was cold. But it was awesome. It opened my eyes to a whole new world of animal science. Had been a rancher and then had worked with animals all my life, but I'd never really looked from the animal out, the cell out, and seen how things work. And that's what it allowed me to do. So it was incredible. And finishing my PhD, unfortunately, my paternal grandmother didn't get to see that. And so she didn't get to see the culmination of what she started, but I know she knew it anyway. So it was something I'm very proud of.
What was it like receiving your Doctor of Philosophy degree in Animal Science from the University of Wyoming?
It was incredible. Again, it was the culmination of a 12-year higher education career. And it was scary a little bit because there wasn't anything else to do. Then I had to go to work. So finding a teaching position was a little scary at times, but I wouldn't change a thing. It was incredible.
What was the experience like when you began your professional career as an assistant professor in the Department of Agriculture at McNeese State University?
It was great. I went from Texas to New Mexico to Wyoming and then to Louisiana. And it was it was such a great teaching experience for me, teaching myself and then teaching students, because McNeese State is an open admissions university, so anyone can come. And so I had students in my classes literally that couldn't read very well on up to really brilliant kids. And so I had to learn to teach. I'd been teaching all the time through my PhD, but I had to learn to teach students in a different way. And then the people of Louisiana are just incredible. So it really was a great experience for me and a great first job.
What was the experience like as vice president of extended services at Frank Phillips College in Texas prior to joining the University of Georgia?
It was awesome. I spent over 12 years there in the community college. We don't have a system in Texas. They're all independent, but a community college in Texas. And Frank Phillips was a great learning experience for me on the administrative side. I wasn't really looking to move, but my father became very ill with cancer. And I'm from the Panhandle of Texas, where Frank Phillips is. And so I looked for a position that was closer to home. This just worked out incredible. I started as a director and very quickly moved up to a vice president, and truly had to run. We had a 9,400 square mile service area, which is larger than 7 states. And I had 2 of the 3 campuses were mine. And so I was constantly driving the 111 miles between them. But in that part of Texas, that's not very far. So it was a great learning tool for me and really kept me on mission, and my mission has always been changing students' lives. So it kept me on mission.
How was it like going from Frank Phillips College to coming to the University of Georgia as an assistant provost Griffin campus director?
It was a very big change for me. Friends of mine said, I wasn't looking for a job necessarily. A friend sent me the link to it. And when I read it, I'm like, well, that would be kind of awesome, but I like community colleges and where I'm at, but it just became too great of an opportunity not to take. But it didn't take me 6 months to realize I was off mission. The University of Georgia gets 27,000 freshman application and only chooses 5,000. So they get to choose the best and the brightest from around Georgia. I was used to community colleges where everyone gets a chance. And so it really put me off my mission in life, which is to empower and change the lives of students. I loved it. It was an incredible learning experience for me to be at a major university in the nation and gain that experience. But I knew really quickly that I was off mission. So I wasn't really looking to move anywhere else, but if something popped up, I was going to take it seriously.
What were some of your roles and responsibilities as an assistant provost and Griffin campus director?
We had the University of Georgia campus has 4 major campuses and then a bunch of research stations. So my main job was over one of the campuses and then several of the research stations. So all the aspects of budgeting and hiring and firing and all that kind of stuff. But also as assistant provost, I answered directly to the provost who was on the Athens campus, the main campus. So I got to be involved, and this really helped me prepare for this job, because I got to be involved in a lot of high-level conversations and working with the state government and working with high-end donors and things like that really kind of helped me. I'm a country guy at heart. I'm an ag guy. I'm not real. I don't play golf, so I'm a weird president. I like to be outdoors more than anything else. So I wasn't really something I thought was presidential material. University of Georgia helped me kind of figure out maybe I was. And the other associate provost came to me 6 months in and said, you need to be a president somewhere. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I just see that in you. He says, probably community college. I'm like, that's where I'd like to end up. And so he actually helped me in obtaining this job as a reference. But so it was I wouldn't trade any of the experiences I've had to get to this point.
How was it like working at a 4-year university such as the University of Georgia?
It was so different. There were about 12,000 employees. So we always had issues going on. And then we had about 30,000 students. So, I mean, it taught me so much about different processes that you have to go through in education. But again, it was the students there are the cream of the crop in Georgia. So they really didn't need me to succeed. And so while it was great, and again, I wouldn't trade it. It taught me so much that I've moved into this position. It did, again, teach me really quickly I was off mission. That my mission is not to be a university administrator.
What was the transition like going from the University of Georgia to Nash Community College in North Carolina?
It was incredible. So I've been here in November 1st starts my 4th year. So I've been here nearly 3 full years. I got back on mission. And I have to tell you, a friend of mine, I've had very good luck with friends sending me links to jobs because they knew I wasn't looking. And a friend of mine sent me this one, and I went to the website just to look around, and took me about 10 minutes. I'm like, there's something special here in Rocky Mount, North Carolina at Nash Community College. So I did apply. When I came to interview, I wasn't sure if I wanted to take it. I could have stayed my time and retired from the University of Georgia. But during about halfway through the interview, I thought, I think this is the place I need to be. And then when I flew back to Georgia, I'm like, I'm going to be really mad if I don't get this job. So I was very happy when they called and said, we'd like to offer you the position. So it was a very seamless transition because I'm back to mission. I'm back at a community college. I'm back at a state that has an incredible community college system. Nash is about midline of size. There's 58 colleges. We're like number 29 or 30 in size. So it's a perfect size. We sit between Rocky Mount and Nashville. So it's kind of in the country, which I like the country and being out. We have an incredibly beautiful campus. We have this thing called a culture of blue love, which means we are going to support students till the very end and help them get jobs and do everything else. So it got me back on mission. So the transition has been truly seamless.
How was it like getting the job at Nash Community College to becoming the president of a college?
It was, as I said, I was going to be really mad if I didn't get the job when I finally interviewed. And when I toured the campus during the interview, it just locked me in. I'm like, there's just something special here. And I've been on a lot of campuses in 7 different states and done different things. There's just something special here. And it's the people. It's Team Nash. We don't talk faculty and staff here because I don't like the word staff. That's an infection, and that's not a very good infection. I like team because I'm the team leader. And so we talk Team Nash here, and there's just something about Team Nash. I've worked with many, many really incredible teams in my career. I've been very, very fortunate. But I can honestly say I've never worked with a better team than I work with here. So it was incredible. I was just ecstatic. And unfortunately, COVID hit right after I came here in November of 19. So by March, everything went into lockdown and all kinds of things. So I haven't really got to be president yet in the fun way where you get to kind of enjoy it. But I wouldn't trade a second. I really think I was brought here to help us get through COVID. I mean, we have fought very hard to maintain what we have, and the whole team has been involved. So it's been great.
What are your roles and responsibilities as the president at Nash Community College?
The president is kind of the tip of the spear. We take responsibility for everything that happens on a campus. So the phrase "it's lonely at the top" is true. You can't be real friendly. You can be friendly, but you can't be good friends with all the people you work with because you just can't do that. It crosses or draws too many lines in the sand that you might cross. But it is, I won't lie, it's a stressful job, but it is so rewarding. When it's kind of a roller coaster ride, there'll be really incredible greatness, and then you sink down into something happened and you have to deal with that. But the coolest part, it makes every president I've talked to feels the same way. No matter what the year's been like, no matter what the months prior to graduation have been like, when you watch students walk across the stage, and we do a drive-through ceremony as well. So they either drive up and walk up to us, or they come inside and do the official or the inside one. When you watch these students who really probably started thinking they couldn't finish and couldn't do it, you see them cross the stage. And I remember back to when I first crossed the stage, when they finally realized, look what I did, look what I accomplished. It makes all the bad things go away that might have happened all the rest of the year. So it really kind of re-energizes the batteries. So the president's responsible for everything. And I have about 420 employees here. So everything they do, I'm responsible for. So, but that's a good thing. But it's incredible to be a president, I have to admit.
How did it feel for you to be announced as the new president of the Nash Community College?
It was great. It kind of led to a little bit of a problem for me when they announced early. And so I was still in Georgia and I hadn't told anybody I'd applied for the job. So a friend of mine who I didn't know had moved to to North Carolina, texted me. And I didn't, his number wasn't in my contact list, so it just came up as a number, but said, congratulations on the new job. Well, I hadn't told anybody where I worked. And so my bosses knew, but not my team, not anybody. And so I texted back, said, who is this and how do you know that? And he said, well, it just came out in the newspaper. It's announced. I'm like, oh my gosh. So while I was so proud to be announced, I had to really quickly, that was on a Friday evening. So on Monday morning, I had to call my team together, which there were about 300 of them there, and announce that I was leaving. So it was, the announcement was awesome. And it went to a former governor of North Carolina, called me to congratulate me. I got so many well wishes, and the previous president left me an incredible college to just kind of slide into and run. So it was incredible, but the actual announcement caused me a little bit of angst because I had to make sure my team heard from me before they heard from someone else. And fortunately, word hadn't trickled down into Georgia too much by the time I announced on that Monday.
What are some goals that you have accomplished so far as the president of a community college?
We, as a team, we've accomplished a lot. Number one, we've survived COVID up to this point, and we were like everyone else in March of 2020. We were building the plane as we flew it, trying to figure out how to go through a pandemic, because since the 1911 bird flu pandemic, there hadn't been a pandemic in the United States. So none of us, even sitting presidents for 20 years, didn't know how to handle it. So we have accomplished that, and I'm very proud of it. Now, we've seen enrollment loss like everyone else, but we're slowly but surely gaining that back. So there's that. We've also increased the beauty of the campus as a team. When I came, there were a lot of overgrown areas, kind of wild looking areas that to me pose security risk. There was darker kind of areas. So we have an incredible grounds team. They have cleaned up the campus. I mean, it was beautiful to begin with, but they've made it more accessible and more viewable. And that's a big goal for us. I think it's very important to have a very welcoming campus when new students come in. The hardest thing a student may ever do, a potential student may ever do, is drive into the parking lot and get out of their car. If they get out of their car and don't see where to go and don't see anyone to ask, they're going to get back in their car and drive off and never come back. So we're very proud of our open nature of the campus. We have established a a staff senate. We say staff when we separate faculty and staff out, but we had a faculty senate, but we didn't have a staff side to kind of talk and discuss and bring issues and things to the president. So we've established that, which I'm very proud of. And there's a whole bunch of other smaller things we've done. COVID really changed the way the whole campus works, but we adapted to that, met goals. I gave them a goal last year of getting us some of our enrollment loss back, and they did. They exceeded my goal that I set. So we're doing okay, and the goals are being met, but we've had to kind of shift how we set goals because of COVID. Things are just different now, and we're still going through it. It's certainly not over by any account, but so we continue to accomplish things daily, weekly, monthly, and certainly yearly, because I have a really incredible team that makes things happen.
What does a day in the life of a president of a community college look like?
Mine's maybe a little different than some. I arrive at work at about 6:30 in the morning. I'm rarely much later than that. So I'm one of the first, if not the first person on campus. But it's my ag background. I used to have to do chores at 3:30 and 4:30. So I've always gotten up early. So I get here about 6:30. I get more done between 6:30 and 8 when everybody else gets here. Some days then I get done the rest of the day. With being a president, there's a whole lot of paperwork. There's a whole lot of computer time. There's a whole lot I have a standing desk. I don't like to sit down. And so there's a whole lot of standing up all day and working on budgets or working on personnel things but the other parts that are best for me, we have a 2.5 mile nature trail on campus, and we have a 1 mile paved walking area. And so I walk, it's our road around campus. I walk it every day, rain or shine, cold or hot. And the reason I do is, number one, for exercise, because I'm nearly 60. But secondly, I see people all the time, and we have this, and so I'm gonna let you in on a secret. We have a thing called the Nighthawk call. Our mascot is the Nighthawks. We have a Nighthawk call. It's not really what a Nighthawk sounds like. It's just something I made up. But if someone do it, so you're going to be really embarrassed when I do it, but you're going to have to do it back to me. So I tell all students, if you just say this call, if you do this call, I will answer you no matter where I am, no matter who I'm with. I stopped graduation and did it. I mean, it's just going to become this cultural thing, and it already has. So the Nighthawk call that we use is caw, caw. So you got to do it back to me.
Caw, caw.
There you go. So it's caw, caw. So when I'm walking around campus now, we have so many students back on campus during my walk, Carl drive by with students and I hear it. So I stop and do it right back. So that's fun to me. I get to kind of be not just sometimes you get tired of being the president. You want to just be one of the folks. And so that's great. Fun for me. That's part of my daily routine. I typically don't leave till around 5:30 or 6. So that's a pretty long day. But with the amount of emails we have to do, with the system office issues we have to deal with work with the legislative body from this county. And I really love doing that, going to Raleigh, going to the General Assembly. So it's a busy, I don't ever have to sit back and say, what am I going to do for the rest of the day? Typically, I'm standing there when my assistant comes in and says, I'm leaving for the night, and it'll be a little after 5. I'm like, wow, where did the time go? But so it's a busy job, but I'm telling you, it is the best job on the planet, without a doubt. I think most presidents that I talk to would say the same thing. It's a good one.
How is it like balancing life as a community college president and your family life outside of college?
Basically, there is no life outside of the college for a president, but it's really tough. I am actually single, and don't have children. I have 2 dogs, which get mad at me when I don't show up when I should. But it's very tough. For a president and for many positions, something like a legislator or someone else, even when you're out in public on your social time, you're on college time, because everything you do reflects on the college. And so, I don't like wine, but I do like beer. I don't drink it very often, but I do like it. But I have to be even very careful about going out and eating with friends and drinking a beer or two, because the only thing people are going to remember is the president was out drinking. Did you see? So you have to be really, really careful. You wouldn't want to go into this line of work if you plan to have a whole lot of personal time, because it just typically doesn't happen for any president. But so it's difficult, but I do. When I leave here, I try very hard to not, and my team's very good about not contacting me after like 7 or 8 at night. So we have kind of an understanding that when we're all gone, when we finally all get gone, let's just stay gone unless there's an emergency. But you never know. I can't turn my phone off because you never know what might come up. So it's difficult, but again, it's the best job on the planet. I'm kind of a workaholic, I always have been. So working long hours and not having a ton of social life, not a big deal.
What credentials or qualifications do you need to have in order to pursue this particular career?
It kind of depends. We have presidents in North Carolina and across the country that do not have PhDs or EDDs, the doctorate level. But typically, if you're going to be a president in most colleges, you want to either have a doctor of education, an EDD degree, or a doctor of philosophy, which is what I have, a PhD degree. So it's the terminal degree. You can't go any higher than that at a university. That's typically one of the qualifications. The other qualifications that any selection committee is going to look at is the president has to be the voice and the face of the college. And so I tell my people all the time, they'll say, like, will you do a welcome for us? You only have 2 minutes. I'm like, I can't even say hello in 2 minutes, but sure, I'll try. And then when they look at me, I'm like, would you want a president that's shy? Would you want someone that didn't talk? Because I deal with large donors, small donors all the time. Again, like I said, legislators, board members, foundation board members. You're dealing with the public so much that the thought that I would be shy about it, it just wouldn't work. So they look for outgoing personalities. Some look for, depending on where you are, look for your activities you might do, like, for example, golf. I don't golf. So there are some colleges I would not have applied to because I know they're big golf schools. Well, I'm not going to learn to golf at 60. I'm almost 60 at 60 years old. So they look for different things, but mainly it's what I look for when I'm interviewing. I look for the fit for the position. And it may not be the person with the highest credentials. It may be, if we were looking for a vice president, for example, I'm going to look at their credentials, of course, but I'm going to look at their experience, but I'm going to look at them in the eye when I'm talking to them at the interview, see how they respond to questions. I'm looking more for, are they a fit for Nash Community College? Because we don't want to choose anyone that might not be, continue with the culture that we have here. Same with presidents. You wouldn't want to, typically a person that's run a really giant college, and we have some big ones in this state, probably isn't the best fit for a smaller size like us. We're kind of mid-size, because the pace is just different. Conversely, someone that's from a really small college, and we have a lot of really small colleges in the state, probably isn't the right fit for a big college, because again, the pace is different. So it really depends situation to situation, but I would say credentials, absolutely, experience, certainly, but personality, presentation, all the things. I've taught for 22 of my 30 years, and I told students in every class, when you're in, here's how you need to interview. You need to answer questions. You get one chance to make, I came here to interview, so it was an all-day event, but that was the one day they ever saw me. And then I went back to Georgia. You got to make the right impression really quickly. And you got to not present yourself in a way that's not genuine, because if you do that and then you get the job, they're going to figure out really quick that you were just saying things that you shouldn't have said to get the job. So being genuine, that's what I believe in. Handshakes and looking people in the eye and really talking to them. You never really know if they're being genuine with you, but you can kind of feel. So there's a lot of those things that go in, but I would say for anyone applying for any job, be genuine, be yourself, and don't apply just to apply. Find out something you want to do and go towards that, because anybody can get a job, but if you get a job you hate, I'm going to tell you that out of 100 days, 99.2 of them, I can't wait to get here. I'm so excited. There's a couple, there's a little bit in there where you're like, do I have to go to work today? But for the most part, it is just exciting to get here and see what we're going to accomplish that day.
What advice would you give young adults or adults that want to pursue a career in education or higher education?
Well, first off, I would say do it. Definitely. We have such a shortage of teachers, and in education, there's just a shortage, and COVID has just exacerbated that. So I would first tell students, and I was in agriculture, like I said, and so my students were not entering into high paying jobs when they finished, but I would tell them, please look at the benefits. Please look at, if you want to be in a certain area of the state of Texas or wherever else, please look at the other things, not just salary. So advice I give to every student is, please don't concentrate on the money you're going to make, because there's a lot of other things that are just as important. A job that education doesn't pay tremendously well, but the benefit package from state retirement and state health benefits is incredible. For any employee we hire, you have to consider about a $30,000 benefit package on top of that when we look at budget. Most businesses can't match that. So if you're young, even if you're single, but if you have a family, look at the opportunities that education offers. I would also say, to anyone looking for employment or looking to go to college to get employment, figure out what your passion is and don't change from that. Again, I was an agriculture major, an animal science major. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be a president. But I got the jobs not because I had an education degree, like an early childhood education or other things. I got them because I had the training, but I had the personality to make the jobs work. So find your passion, explore what, if I was a high school student or junior high student or even a grade school student, start exploring what you want to do with your life. If you're a fourth grader and you love art, don't let anybody change your mind. I mean, go forward if that's your passion and what you want to do. But again, we need so many folks in education, and some, like college level, takes a master's degree for most teachers to be at the college level. K through 12 does not necessarily. Typically a PhD or an EDD is required to move further than teaching, but not necessarily. But just, give education a chance. And I don't know many teachers who don't work terribly hard and lots of long hours, but they find the reward, just like I do at graduation, so do they. And so there's so many rewards along the ways. If you're teaching grade school and one of your kids comes up and hugs you, I mean, that makes a lot of things go away. So I would say just to any student watching, listening, thinking, talk to your teachers, talk to them about what they like about their job, what they don't like about their job. Or the administrators, the superintendent, the principal. No one wants to go to the principal's office, but if you go to ask a question, that's a good thing. But education is an incredible an incredible job direction. It's allowed me to go to many countries around the world, most of the states in this country. I would never have done that had I stayed on the ranch in Texas, and I would have been happy, but I wouldn't have known what I was missing. So give education a chance.
Thank you so much, sir. It was an honor speaking with you today.
It's an honor being spoken to. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.